I wrote this book, Drums of Success, with a purpose to provide you with 10 simple steps to turning your creative potential into success. Although it may be useful to everybody who wants to understand the dynamics of creativity in our everyday life, it targets those who would like to discover their creative potential, turn it into creative ideas and objects, and eventually turn it into success in their lives. In this video, I would like to read for you an excerpt from the book. Seated on the floor, as I was scratching my head and trying to kill some headlines that was giving me trouble during the 3 months that I had spent hiding in an orphanage, I reflected on my life. I felt like there was no hope of becoming who I had always dreamed of becoming. My father had been killed, and I did not know the whereabouts of my 2 elder brothers. 2 little voices were giving me contradicting messages. One was telling me that it was going to be okay, but another one was telling me that it was going to be the end of all my dreams. I looked at my mother and my siblings. Everyone was worried until that particular day when we heard that the storm was over. Was the storm really over? I guess so. It was over, but the cold days had just started. How was our mother going to survive with her diabetes? Who would cater to her special needs? How about us? Our father, who was the only provider for the family, had been shot in both legs and buried alive. That's how they had decided to kill him. Our elder brothers were gone and murdered. She had an idea. Her flowers could save us. No, we could also dance and get some money out of it. She knew she was going to make it. She owed that to her husband, and she was definitely not going to fail. We had survived the worst of atrocities that the world had ever known, and there was no way we would fail to live. We had been given a chance by the Creator to live again and live better. The story of my mother is similar to those of many Rwandans. After the genocide against the Tutsi that took the lives of nearly 1 million people in year 1994, everybody who survived was determined to live to accomplish a purpose. For some people, they had survived one of the worst atrocities the world has ever known, and that meant that they were given a chance to live better than they did before. For some others, after experiencing the death of their parents, they found themselves playing the role of parents to their younger siblings, as they did not have anyone to delegate that role to. They had to provide for and protect their younger brothers and sisters. For some others, they found themselves widows or widowers and needed to provide for their families in the absence of their spouses. For some others, they had been refugees for decades, and it was their first time to live in a country they called their own. And they had to leave behind the possessions they had in some greener countries, but with darker skies. This meant success, and they had to pursue that success. For many, they had seen their country being torn and destroyed in days, and they felt a drive to rebuild it. My mother was one of the widows that found themselves with no husband, in a culture where husbands used to be the main providers for the family. She used to be a primary school teacher until she had her 4th child, and my father told her to stop working and take care of the children. She was 49 years old when she was widowed by the genocide against the Tutsi. She made a decision to turn her love of flowers, what was once her hobby, into a business that sent me and my siblings to school. And here I am writing on the creativity that fed me. What a great inspiration she was. Was money from the flower business enough? No. I remember paying school fees from the little pennies I had earned from traditional dancing. What an interesting experience. For other many Rwandans, the path to success was clear: to pursue formal education and a degree and fill up a number of the positions that were available in a country that had killed its own intellectuals. This was the time that age was not a factor. Some children were in the same classrooms with their parents. This was the time that individuals were spending almost 20 hours a day for their self-development. After working hours, the traffic jam was not caused by those who were rushing to go home, but to schools. Many years after the genocide, Rwandans seem to have the same drive to live to their best. Now Rwandans talk about what they titled agaciro, which means dignity. This is comparable to what Americans call the American dream. It does not emphasize only individual achievement and gain. It is a very inclusive term that speaks to the determination of Rwandans to develop themselves and their country as a whole, to keep good values of nobleness and promote the image of the country. A lot of people in Rwanda theoretically embrace the concept and are determined to make it a reality in their lives. However, there seems to be no realities. A lot of young people, especially those in cities, continue to graduate with university degrees, but their numbers are far much higher than the number of jobs created every year. Some have spent years without being able to secure jobs, while some young people continue to focus on the job search efforts that may land them into their dream job. Others have a drive to make it happen, irrespective of whether or not somebody is willing to look at their resumes. These young people have started venturing in self-employment, requiring IT skills, business skills, and vocational skills, all in the industries of filmmaking, acting, music, visual arts, and others. Strong Karakire, my younger brother, is one of the young people in Rwanda that has decided to take a different path. He started with dust and eye pencils, took a photo of our late father, and made his portrait. Oh, that's Canisius. Oh my God, that was my mother, nearly about to faint after seeing a big portrait of her late husband in her living room. I love to know that Strong had a talent, and I enjoyed exploring his artwork until the day we had to have a family meeting to convince him to go to college. How did he dare to say that he did not want to go to college? He was going to be a coward. Oh, I was so afraid that my mother would have a heart attack to hear that. Strong did not have an option but to combine school with his art. As for me, I was on the right track, already pursuing a British master's degree program. My research was on psychometric tests. I loved what I was learning on intelligence, mental abilities, personality, and motivation, and how these influence performance. So many questions were flowing in my head. I started to doubt what I initially believed in, and I enjoyed reading more about what makes us think, feel, and act the way we do as people. In the middle of my research, I received an email. It was from my brother, Strong Karakire, and this was the message. Happy, I love you. I love you all, my family. I love Mom, but I would like to let you know that I'm dropping out of college. Please stop wasting your money on my studies. How did I feel? Relieved. I was now convinced that it was what he liked. I was convinced of his intelligence. I was convinced of his rebellious and independent personality. Anyway, I had to apply for a scholarship to study in Europe, and he was already traveling to different parts of the world, including Europe, for exhibitions of his artworks. I think I was also born creative. Yeah, I was. I was born creative, independent and rebellious, until the day I was reshaped to think inside a box. I was taught that 1 + 1 = 2, and that it can never be 3 or 11. I was taught to wait for other people to make decisions about my life. One day, I waited for my parents to tell me the school options that I was allowed to choose. And a few years after, I found myself with no option of doing a U-turn. That's how I ended up pursuing a business administration program. But one day, for the first time in my life, I was given an opportunity to choose, and I made a choice to specialize in human resources management. I didn't know exactly what it meant. I just felt that it was going to be challenging. How can one claim to be able to manage human resources? Do we mean people? These are the most complex creatures to understand. Anyway, I was going to find out how. I enjoyed studying their psychology. I enjoyed studying how I can tap into their talents. I enjoyed studying how I can develop their skills. I enjoyed studying how I can motivate and retain them. The most interesting part of my story is that up to today, I'm still learning a lot about people. After many years as a human resources strategist for different private and public sector organizations, I'm still pursuing my quest to learn more about people. In 2010, I did research on the criteria and validity of psychometric tests used in selection development of human resources. I learned that performance is a function of abilities, personality, and motivation. But the research, instead of answering all my questions, raised more curiosity. What do we mean by performance? I learned that it's about completing a task, an action, or a function. But that's not what I only wanted to find out. I wanted to understand more of our performance differences in terms of quality and the result of what we do. Oh, I had a term, creativity. This is about the originality and novelty of what we do. What's the link between abilities, personality, motivation on one hand, and creativity on another hand? Interesting. Creativity is also a function of abilities plus personality, a sum of which is multiplied by motivation. I am from Africa, one of the continents with many less developed countries. Are people there not so creative? No. I have also been fortunate to go to other countries, and I keep in my memory the different beggars I saw on the streets of New York. There was no way we can say that these people do not have the potential to be creative. Yes, they do have it. Then what prevents them from turning this creative potential into success? What did successful people do best? How did they turn their creative potential into success?